In this video, we're going to talk about electricity and circuits. This is Unit 9, and it's one of our last units. And I believe this is Chapter 20 in your book. So this is something really important to remember from chemistry. Electrons, they are outside of the atom, and they have a negative charge. And protons are inside the atom, and they have a positive charge, and neutrons have no charge. And then an atom is neutral when the charge of the electrons equals the charge of the protons. So if you have the same number of electrons as protons, you're going to have a neutral atom. And this is really important for electricity because electricity is basically electrons and protons. So electric charge creates electric and magnetic forces and interactions. You can see if you have a hard rubber rod and you rub it on wool, this is supposed to be wool, it'll actually charge and make some static electricity. Again, your negative charge is your electrons, and your positive charge is your protons. And you are neutral when your electrons equal your protons. And just like in chemistry, and if you've ever used a magnet, like charges repel and opposite charges will attract. So if you have two positive charges, they will both want to move away from each other. And if you have a positive and a negative charge, they'll both want to go towards each other. And then electric charge depends on an imbalance of protons and electrons. Because remember, if you have the same amount, then you have no charge. And so the electric charge is the imbalance, whether it's like this side of the rod is positive and this side is negative, or an actual different number, different amount. So when different materials are rubbed together, you can actually transfer electrons from one material to the other. Conductors are materials that move freely. These are metals. Metals are really good conductors. You see they have these these wires are made of different metals, and then they actually cover them with plastic because plastic is an insulator. This is ceramic and plastic and styrofoam. All of those are insulators. I have one that looks kind of like this from a electricity pole that I'll show you guys in class. And the reason that metals are so good as conductors, if you remember the electron C model, in metals, electrons and protons are just kind of like floating around in this electron C. They call it electron C because they're kind of floating. And so if you were to rub something on here, you would get, if it was positive, you'd get all the electrons coming to this side, and then all the protons would go to that side, and so you've basically charged that metal. So if you remember that back from chemistry, that's why metals are such good conductors. Again, charges can move around an uncharged object like I was showing you with the electron C model, and then you can also charge things by physical contact. Friction is really common. This girl, she looks kind of scary, but what probably happened is she had an balloon, and if you rub that on your hair, you can get it to stick up, and your hair will stick up and attach to the balloon. If you've ever taken socks and rubbed them on a carpet and then touch something, you can shock it. And then also when you have like a really cold, dry day, a lot of times you can get some extra static electricity, and if you're a girl or a guy, your hair won't do what you want it to do. Conduction, if you guys remember, conduction means touching. Remember, that was our transfer of energy by touching. So conduction means touching. You can take an electroscope. This is kind of what's going on in here. You have these lightweight pieces of metal, and they're going to be spinning, and then you're actually going to charge this, and this rod that you've got here will be a different charge than the little metal knob. And then charging by conduction, again, you can touch something that is charged, touch something that's not charged by something that is charged, and you can charge that by conduction. Again, that's what's going on with the balloon in your hair. Separation of charges. When charges are separated, again, remember, like charges repel, but charges that are different want to go together. To charge by induction, induction means not touching. So this is when you're going to charge an object by not actually touching it. This happens a lot of time when you ground something in your bathroom. You have those outlets.